I'm coming on at a really awkward time, I think, but that's not unusual. We've all had an amazing day. I've managed to listen to some of the speakers, and I've come on in a way that's clearly not at all scientific, so please bear with me while we go through. In February of this year, I was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer. And then about 6 or 7 weeks ago, my great partner and I saw a letter from the oncologist to the ENT consultant that said, without chemo and radio, I'll be dead within a year. So that's kind of how 2017 started for us. So hopefully yours was a bit better. We were okay at the time. The timing, I have to admit, was pretty good, to be honest. My youngest was 2-3 weeks away from giving birth, and we didn't tell the kids, so obviously we were caught up in all the elation and the excitement, and it was pretty special, to be fair. The kids obviously didn't know that we had this madness going on in the side, and we were able to just really get excited about the baby in the way that we wanted to, and that kind of wave of energy carried us through to the next step. So while the kids were busy over there, it gave me a chance to kind of metaphorically pick up the cancer and try it on a couple of times and put it back in the cupboard over there and see what I thought about it. And actually, I decided fairly on it wasn't for me, to be honest. So that left me with a few options, and the one that we decided to do was to pretty much carry on regardless. Thank you. This is really kind, and this is the first time in my life I've been clapped for breathing. I'm going to go around and tell everyone now. From there, life got really quick. Really, the amazing juggernaut that's the NHS that we love so much really kicks in logistically, and I was set up with quite a few appointments. So I had a biopsy of my tonsil. In fact, I'm sorry, this is so un-TED. I'm slightly less organised than we'd want in my order, but I think now is probably a good time to show you who we're speaking about for most of the day. This is Norman. It's he's actually called Norman because my friend's dog, when he sees me, Norman the dog, he'll race up at me, he'll jump all over me for about 10 minutes, and then after I've given him a little bit of fuss and sort of sent him on his way, he just leaves me to crack on and get on with it. And I'm hoping that this Norman kind of joins in with that approach because it works so well for me. Sorry, what happened? Within a few weeks, we had all the appointments, we had tonsil out, scans, lots of things happened, and we felt really, really well looked after. We felt like, okay, this is good. I've always known, since I was a child, really, if I'm honest, that chemo and radio aren't for me. It's kind of like everybody must do what's right for them. But it's sort of like voting UKIP. It's like, I'm never going to get it. People can tell me what they want. I'm never going to get it, ever. So I just wanted to be able to kind of understand what I was doing. And I didn't know. What happened was my life became taboo really quickly. Everything that we don't want to talk about, that's all I had going on. You stopped working really early. And work's massively important for me. I've been lucky enough, and I'm bloody good, to be fair, to work around the world. I had to say that, these would have killed me if I didn't. To work around the world with ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I know what people can do. I can see lots of people I've worked with here. I know what people can do if there's a will and if there's a real care about just getting it right. Not about egos, not about who's in the middle, but just let's get it right. And I think, if I'm honest, we get cancer wrong. I'm not saying the treatment's wrong, that's not for me to say anything. We've all got our own experience in the room. But what I think is that I grew up in the 60s in Brum, and the chances of bumping into somebody who had cancer was pretty much the same as bumping into a celebrity. And now we're back there again, but in a very different context. Do you know, everybody is touched by cancer, or everybody's a celebrity, but it is a very different world. And I don't see how we can sustain this. I don't see how it's sustainable. in my current position, we've been looking for stats online just to get a sense of what it is. Every organisation has a different set of stats. Do you know, there's nothing clear about what we do or what we can expect. And that's because the human body is very different. All of our environments are a host environment, and they're very different. Mine is completely different to my kids, hopefully. I really want that. And so, for me, it's about how do we make this work? The first thing that my partner and I looked at was how we rebuild my immune system. And that was just fascinating. That was fascinating. Because there's so much of that stuff out there on the internet. The big challenge, obviously, is that the scientific rigour isn't next to it. And that's the bit that we all want, isn't it? If we're going to trust the lives of our loved ones to something, we want to have a confidence in it. And it has to be something that we can understand at a beginning, a middle and an end. And we don't have that at the moment. And that was really hard. The taboo bits of the life kind of all came together in as much as cancer. It's not as much fun as it's cracked up to be fair. You know, it's really not. It's got me a few dinners, it's got me to a few parties, but actually, it's not fun. And it's actually heartbreaking to tell people who love you over and over again, this is what's happening. So we haven't done it. This is me coming out to a lot of people because I want them to know, here's me, that's what's been said, and look at me, I'm actually really well, thank you. Me and old Norman are coexisting quite well at the moment, and long may it continue. Thank you. So everything that's in my life at the moment, it's kind of like, so I pick a subject, cancer, death, health, cannabis oil, getting well, whatever you want. And out of all of those, the one that people don't ever want to talk about is other people's health, actually. You know, we all go, oh my God, again. So again, it's finding the way through all of this for me. When we found out that oncology was just chemo and radio, I'm so thick, I thought it was more. And when we found out that it was just chemo and radio, and I came out of there, we obviously weren't in the care of the NHS anymore. And one of the big things for me was to find a community. Because actually the first few weeks after a diagnosis, particularly a terminal one, are quite busy. You haven't got that long to think, to be fair. You've got to organise your death. You know, you've got to plan your funeral. And I'd got a folder since 1995 in my office, and it says, when I kick it, and the kids have managed to avoid all of that. But I went through, and you'll be glad to know it worked. I got that one really well done, so I'm quite pleased with that. And the only thing I'd changed is that I've organised less of the service, because I think it's actually a rite of passage for the kids. So I've booked it, I've paid for it, I haven't booked the date, I thought that was a bit presumptuous. But I've paid for it, you know, I'm a half Asian Brummy nan, I like a bargain, so I want that price held just for a bit, and they can just stick with that. And so for me, and then planning being dead, it's hard to say this because there's people I love who are here, and to plan being dead, to plan being good dead, you have to kind of ignore all the people that you love here, because I'd be paralysed if I thought about the babies. The babies are my grandbabies, the kids are the kids, and my partner and my loved ones. If I thought about them, I couldn't talk. So yes, there is a God, but I've had to avoid all of that and just really concentrate on me. And it's meant that I've had to say to people who've heard will text and say, or message and say, I don't know what to do, I'm just really worried about you. And I've had to say to them, please don't worry, because then I have to worry about you. And I want that energy for me. I want to heal me. So every day I have a regime that starts in the morning with garlic and turmeric. Then I stand on my head for a little bit. Go into a cold shower for 20 minutes, Because the big things that I didn't understand about the body before is that your lymph system needs to get out. Your lymph system is supposed to clear things and it doesn't have a pump. So all the time, our lymph isn't moving. It's clogging up our systems. And I'd had several years of operations, of really bad operations, that I have to tell you, the last 2 such operations I should have had, straight in there with the cannabis oil and no operation for me. So I appreciate that technically illegal, but illegal and immoral are not the same things. I'd much rather be illegally alive than immorally dead. It doesn't really work for me. I've forgotten everything that was on these. I have loads of things to say about why no chemo. It's not for me. I'm a person who believes that if something's broke, we try and build it up, we try and repair it. And that approach for me doesn't feel to work. In 2005, we lost one of our most loved people. She'd done everything the NHS said. She'd planned her death at 14. She'd planned a funeral, the most amazing woman. It killed me, and actually to have a chance to do something different, I feel it's quite a privilege. You know, it's a real privilege. I'm a nan. Nans are supposed to die, kids aren't. You know, I'm not racing to it. I'm certainly not racing to it. But there's a lot of things that I think we can do better. And what I'm asking for, there's the sort of 3 things. So for me, I didn't have a community. The terminally ill don't want me, because I'm acting like I'm not going to die. I haven't got a bucket list. I haven't even got a fuck it list anymore. You know, I've done all of that stuff. Sorry. So I've done all of that, you know. What I want to do, the terminally ill didn't want me. They've got lists, they've got crowdfunders, they're great, but I don't fit easily. I don't fit easily in the cancer community. The first thing I did trying to find a community was went online, to all the Facebook cancer groups, there's lots of us, and said, are any of you doing it naturally? And I had responses from, no, but interesting, to, why are you trying to kill us all? And I was trolled on a cancer site for a week, which was interesting, you know. As a person who doesn't get out much, it kept me busy for a couple of days. It was okay. The other things that I need to ask, so the community, there wasn't one for me. There wasn't one in the cancer one. In the alternative community, which is where I want the scientists to come in, it's massively interesting. There's thousands, there's millions around the world. I've exaggerated. There's thousands, potentially, around the world who are doing things differently, who are using natural herbs, natural ways of doing it. They're not able to say it because a little bit illegal, and also the NHS aren't able and equipped to deal with it. And it's broken. Let's not pile more stuff on that they can't do. So in gathering together communities or trying to get them, what's been really hard in that community is we only hear the stories of people who've done it. And then we're nervous because we don't know, was it the 200 pounds of grapes that day? Was it the 4 million carrots? Was it the chemo? Who knows? And so what we haven't got apparently is a lab rat. Well, scientists, lab rat over here, really. I would really like, I'm not going to change the treatment I'm having. I'm not going to do things that don't fit with the treatment I'm having, but I'm very happy that if we do have people who want to attach a scientific rigour to this, please, I'm happy to be the lab rat. We need to do this now. We can't go on and on being told that we can't do this because there's no scientific rigour, while thousands of people over there are trying it. We can't do it. The second thing, very quickly, the third thing is I want a community. I don't have a community. You're my home. Brum is my home. It has been for years, and possibly will be till I'm dead, who knows. You know, Brum is here, and I want people around me, so if anybody has an interest in this approach, I'd be very keen to get you involved. I've set up a Facebook group. It's called Band-Aid, B-A-N-N-E-D, Band-Aid, Weed the World. It's not the biggest thing. It's not the biggest thing that I'm doing. But it's the thing that most people get excited by, and I thought if that lets you remember it, please do it. So the first thing is scientific rigour. The second thing is, let's start having conversations through this community. Let's just say, what we're doing now isn't sustainable. The third thing is a massive ask for Brum. I love Brum. I don't love Brum like I love my kids, but I love Brum. And what happens here is something special. All of us who've known Brum and who know what Brum's created and what we've been forever would not feel happy that we're sitting in a position where we're the naughty kid in the corner because we always vote red. Do you know, most of us are not happy with that. And this has come together in quite a good storm. We have 1.1 million people in this city. If we look at the statistic that most people remember about cancer, that's 1 in 2 now, that's not pretty. It's not pretty and it's not acceptable. It's not what we should be doing, not on our watch. You know, we can do better. And whatever stat you look at, the figure for prevention is 45%. We've got here the best brains in the world flock to our universities. We've got some of the greatest business community that I've seen across the world. We've got a wellbeing team who's done more to change the face of public health in Birmingham than anywhere else has happened. And we've got the world coming to see what we do. We've got all the conditions here to turn Birmingham into a well city. Set our stall out and let's say, over time, let's reduce this figure of ill health in Birmingham, but not in a way that says, let's move away from ill health. I'm saying, screw that, let's move towards great health, let's move towards well. So for me, it's very much about how can we get together to move towards wellness and be a well city. And I think we can do that really well and show the rest of the world again what Brum's made of. And up until then, I'm just going to sort of stay zen as fuck, really. Thank you.